Leo and Charlie, if you're watching this someday, your grandfather and I wanted to leave you with more than just stories about the business we built that we talked about at the dinner table. We wanted to give you these letters each week as a way to understand why we got into this. What were some of the challenges we faced, the successes we had along the way, and let you get a glimpse into the business we built as we were building it.
Yeah, so right now you're little. You won't remember these moments, but when you're older and you watch the videos, you'll get not just a feel for what your dad just said about the business itself, but you'll learn a little bit about the personalities behind the business, which is just as important as learning about the details of the trials and tribulations that we went through to build something that we believe someday will be a legacy, that someday you may work in this business.
Or at the very least, understand the stories from a real-time perspective as we're living them ourselves. And so in today's letter, we want to tell you about how this all came to be, why we started this, why we decided to take the risk.
The why of Cork Candles is really Kenny's story. So I had started a number of businesses prior to this, and I'm at the stage in life where I'm ready to sunset. But when Kenny came to me as my son and said, "Dad, I'm thinking about doing this," and he was actually going to do it with somebody else, I kept thinking to myself selfishly, well, I would love to do this with my son. It would just be such a blast to do it with Kenny as a family. But the reason why this business actually started is Kenny's story.
Yeah, I think for me, I had always felt this itch to be an entrepreneur that I tried to scratch a couple times. I bought a house when I was living in North Carolina and I became a landlord. And so I was renting out a room and making a little bit of money that way, but that didn't really seem to scratch the itch. When I was young, 12, 13 years old, my parents, mom and dad, bought two Brewster's ice cream franchises. And when I was young, when I was in high school, I grew up working at the stores in the summertime, scooping ice cream into the wee hours of the nights. And one of my favorite jobs I've ever had was working in that business and taking care of the customers that came to the window. I love the fast-paced nature of the business. I love the customer service. And ultimately, I loved the hospitality. And so in 2021, I found myself working in a job that I was good at and that I enjoyed, but I wasn't feeling that itch being scratched from an entrepreneurship perspective. And I was starting to feel a little burnt out. I was working at a private equity firm, long hours, the same sort of work day in and day out. And I saw a business like Cork Candles where Mom, Ashley, and I went for a Mother's Day celebration. We made candles, the three of us, and I just fell in love with the concept. I thought it was so much fun. It was so easy to do. It was interactive enough that we were busy the whole time, but we had enough downtime moments to really sit, connect. Our phones were down, and it really felt like an enjoyable third space to spend time together. And that's when we started kicking the tires on, do we build our own business? And
But you met with the owner too.
Yeah, we met with the owner. We went back and forth on, would it be something we could partner with? He could continue to own his business. We would partner on a future endeavor. And I think at the time, he and his wife were having a baby, and so it just didn't work from a timing perspective, which is probably another story. We've always said that there's never the right time to do anything. And so you just have to make the most of it. Your mom and I, it wasn't the right time maybe to become parents because we had no idea what we were doing, but we figured it out along the way. And that's been the case as a business owner. Most of the things we've encountered, it's been for the first time. And so you're learning as you're doing. And for me, that's been one of the more rewarding things, is having to figure it out, having to solve problems, having to work through those things.
So that's actually not totally true, because I call it scar tissue. While you're figuring out something, you're developing scar tissue. So I have a fair amount of scar tissue. And so I feel that I've been a good partner from the start, because when we face something, I feel like, well, I've either done that or I've done something similar to that, or because I have so much scar tissue, that one doesn't bring any pain for me. But as a dad, something that I wanted this business to be for your dad is I wanted him to develop scar tissue. I wanted him to learn and go through trials and tribulations and learn from that, as long as it doesn't kill you. That's that. As your parent, when you went off to college, my thought was, I want you to experience life, but let's not do anything that is life damaging.
And it's been that. I think I've grown and matured tremendously through us building this business, because in entrepreneurship, it feels like the highs are so much higher and the lows are so much lower. When a negative Google review comes in on the business, at times it's felt personal. But when we are super busy and you see all the smiling faces and you can listen in on some of the conversations and see the joy that we're able to bring into the world with building this business, the gratitude and the purpose and the validation in those moments is greater than anything I've felt in a corporate job. And so as we were really talking through, is now the right time, we opened Cork Candles, our first location, on March 14th. On March 6th, 8 days before, your mom and I got married. And on March 28th, 2 weeks after, I started a new job. I had left the private equity firm and I started a new job. So March was one of the busiest moments in my life. A few months later in July, we bought our house. And at the end of the year, we got pregnant with Leo. And so it was a busy year, and it never felt like it was the right time. It felt like we just had to do one thing at a time and keep moving in the right direction. And that allowed us to have an amazing wedding, a celebration with family and friends, a great opening of the business, a strong start to the new job. But when you look back on it and see everything we tried to do at once, it's a bit overwhelming. But in the moment, focusing on there's never the right time, do one thing at a time that you can to move it forward. That's how we got through it and how we got open. But really at the core of why we did this and why we decided to open this business was, for a long time, I had been thinking about wanting to do something and feeling a need that I had to give it a shot. I had seen my parents, your grandparents, build Brewsters. Dad had done a number of other businesses over the years that we'll tell you about. And I felt I needed to follow in those footsteps. And this opportunity presented itself, and it's something that we really ran hard at. And it was a lot of fun. And I can say with full confidence that building a business like this, having employees, managing vendors, having a number of customers that we see smiling faces return over and over again, to me, in a way that being a landlord never could, building Cork Candles has scratched that itch as an entrepreneur. And it's provided meaning and purpose and validation on a lot of those things that I'm so grateful that we've had the opportunity to build.
So that high that you talked about, it's different when you achieve something that is your own, that you can call your own. Because you could work for somebody else and win a contract and say, well, I won a contract. But then you go home, you turn off the light and you go home. It's not yours. You don't own that. But when you win something that's your own, it means so much more to you. So in this first video, if there's a few things that I want you to remember, is when Kenny talks about there's never the right time, or it wasn't the right time for him, I find that there's never the right time. And so people often wait until it's perfect timing. But one of my beliefs is it's better to start imperfectly than wait to start perfectly. And the other is, how do you eat an elephant? You eat an elephant one bite at a time. And so when you face a big problem or big challenge, don't let it overwhelm you. Just take a little piece of it and take that bite, and then take the next bite and take the next bite. And before you know, you've eaten the whole elephant.
Yeah, I think if there was one thing I would say to take away from this is life's uncertain, but one thing I know for sure is you'll find times where you're overwhelmed, where you feel like, how can I make a decision? How can I possibly try to do that? The fear of the unknown is often so much worse than the problems that arise as you go through the learning. And so if there's one thing to take away from this, it's when you feel those moments of being overwhelmed, being paralyzed by the desire to make a decision, to just get started. You don't have to have it all figured out. No one ever does. We certainly didn't. And just getting in the game and going through the process of learning as you're building will provide a tremendous amount of weight off the shoulders, because getting started opens the door to learn something new, and the process of building whatever it is will be really rewarding.